Okay, now I told earlier in the case where sigma is not known and n is less than 30, we will have to use something that is called a t distribution. So let's see what t distribution is. So t distribution is a probability distribution in which we apply when sample size is small, that is n less than 30, and the population standard deviation is unknown, that is sigma we don't know. And it was developed by a statistician called Gosset. So he wrote it under first paper. He wrote it under the pseudonym student. That is why it is called student's t distribution. So it is also similar to our normal distribution in that it is symmetric as well as bell-shaped. But the difference from the normal distribution is that it has heavier tails. That means if you consider this as my normal distribution, if you consider this t distribution, its tails will be heavier. That is, it will be having more points in the tails compared to a normal distribution. So the probability that there are values away from the mean are more in the t distribution compared to the normal distribution. Then similar to set table that we had for this thing, we are having something called a t table here. So this is not like a very exhaustive table as followed for the set table. So only point of interest I will tell what is called a degree of freedom. So now I have to evaluate something for n samples where n is less than 30. So degrees of freedom is something that means that what is the number of independent samples or independent entities in a particular sample. So if you consider all the n entities, it is concept is something like I find out the mean, I subtract the mean from all these, and then I add it up. So square of this side, not square. OK. So in this case, if I am using all my n samples in this computation, I am taking the mean, finding the mean of this. Then I am subtracting everything xi minus x bar. OK, sorry, xi minus x bar. I am taking this, computing this, and taking the sum of this. Then if it is 0, that means that my n samples are not independent, right? So if I do it for the n sample case, it will be 0 because in my computation I am taking all the n samples, adding all the values, dividing by n. So if I do a thing like this, it will be equal to 0. So but if I take any n minus sample out of the samples and I do this, the same thing, xi minus mean I will do and I add up, it will not be equal to 0. So that means for any given distribution with sample with the n samples, if I take all the n samples, then they are not independent. But if I take any n minus 1 samples, I can tell that they are like forming an independent thing compared to the mean. So that is what is called a degrees of freedom. Freedom means that how many things are like free moving dimensions are there. So for a distribution with n samples, my degrees of freedom will be n minus 1. So now similar to what we saw earlier, this table will be listing the values corresponding to in this axis. It has degrees of freedom. It varies from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 up to infinity. So if you see here, it is given only till 30 here because more than 30 we told that we can use the normal distribution. And again infinity some value is given here, that will be like same as the normal distribution because more than 30 the t distribution actually will be same as the normal distribution. And the values given here will be the value corresponding to our t statistics, which will be like if you see from probability point of view, the other thing, this normal table, we actually had what was inside. Inside probabilities were there inside, and the set values were there in the labels, right? In this case, it is actually the ulta. Whatever we are having inside this will be the value of my t statistics, and the probability corresponding to each confidence interval, it will be listed. That will be the labels here. So as you can see here also it is written 80% confidence level for a two-tailed test or 10% confidence level for a one-tailed test. So that will be correspond to this particular values. Similarly, the value whatever is given in this table is corresponding to confidence interval or probability in the label, and the value of the t statistics in the inside the table. So we will just see two examples. I will not refer directly the table here. You can do that later. I have already computed the values, so I will be just using that. So some two examples we will see for this. Okay. So I am taking here my n is 10 bulbs I am taking, and the mean operating life is taken as x bar is taken as 400, and sample standard deviation is taken as 200. And I am trying to find out the 95% confidence interval. So same as what we did for set case, only instead of set table, we will be referring my t table. So I cannot use the values like 1.645 or 1.96 from the set table. I will have to use the values from t table. So again, same case, standard error I will compute is by root 10. That will be 200 by root of 10. That is equal to 63.525 something. Then I have to find my t alpha by 2, so 5%. So I have to find my t of 2.5%. With the degrees of freedom also I have to find. Degrees of freedom is 10 samples here, so n minus 1 is 9. So I will find the probability corresponding to 2.5%, degrees of freedom 9. So 2.5% will be this, right? 2.5% degrees of freedom 9 will be 2.262, this value. So 2.262 will be my critical value. So I have to multiply that by standard error, which is 63.25. And again, my this will be my margin of error. To find my estimate for my mean, I have to use the statistic 4000 plus or minus my margin of error. That will give me the confidence interval. Then coming to the second problem, I am giving 10 samples with values 10 values, and I am asked to find the 99% confidence interval. So here I am just not going through the computation of mean, standard deviation and all. You can try that on your own. X bar will be like 2 plus 6 plus 7. Finally, it will come to something like 42. It will add up to 42. 42 by 10 will be 4.2. That will be my sample mean. Then sample standard deviation S square SI will get something like 2.78. You can try this on your own. Yes, you will get like 2.78. So standard error will be S by root 10. That is 2.78 by root of 10. So you will get as 0.8794. Now from my t table, I have to find the 99% confidence interval, right? So I have to find like 0.5%, two-tailed. So 1%, half of that 0.5%. So at 0.5%, I have to find the degrees of freedom is 9 since I have 10 samples. So from the t table, 0.5% is this, degrees of freedom 9. I will get 3.25, 3.249. I will round it as 3.25. So 0.8794 I got a standard error. I have to multiply that by 3.25. My critical value of t. That will be my margin of error. My mean I got as 4.2. So 4.2 plus minus. That will be my confidence interval. So I hope you are with me this much. So I had one more topic pending. Should we take that or shall we wind up? If you are interested, we can go through only one more slide. That's for proportions. Similar thing, how you will apply for proportions. If you are interested, we can take it. Otherwise, we can take it next session probably. If you can stay for 5 more minutes, we can take that and wind up. So this topic will be complete. What do you think? Should we proceed or you need me to repeat any examples or something? Shall we go through? Okay, you can go through the video later. you'll get more idea. Anyway, next session hypothesis testing, we will be seeing two samples also. So once you get this one sample thing and proportion thing clear, in the meantime, when we see the two sample case, that you will be more easier to understand. So that is why I wanted to cover proportion also today. So just 5 more minutes, we will just complete that so that this estimation thing will be complete. So what is called a proportion? So proportion is like I am doing like in Bernoulli trials, things like that. I am tossing a coin. There's a probability half where it is head or tail. So like that I am repeating it 1,000 times, 10,000 times. So things like that, and then I try to find out of this 1,000 times how many times head came or how many times tail came. So that way I will define the probability of success P and probability of failure as Q. And P plus Q will be 1 only, right? So like this is one example you can consider is I toss a coin 1,000 times. Some 450 times I got tail, and some 550 times I got head. So my proportion here P will be, suppose head is my success, P will be 550 by 1,000 and Q will be 450 by 1,000. So that will be my P and Q in this case. So that is what I mean by proportion. So now similar extension for central limit theorem exists for proportion also. So that tells me that the sample distribution of proportion also can be provided similar to mean only in the other case, right? It can be a normal distribution can be used to approximate that, provided n into p is greater than or equal to 10 and n into q is greater than or equal to 10. So given my particular value of n, p and q, if nq as well as np is greater than or equal to 10, I can approximate that using a normal distribution, and in that case my standard error will be square root of pq by n, and my confidence interval will be p bar plus minus similar to what we did other case, z alpha by 2 into standard error. So same thing that we did in previous case, we will be using z table only. In the proportion case, we will not be using t table. We will be using z table alone. So that way that is again simple. I need to again just use that other 1.96 for 95% confidence interval that I got. That thing alone I need to use. So I need not like refer to degrees of freedom, t stats and all. So we'll just see three examples, small examples, direct multiplications. So in a random sample of 400 people, so n is 400, 172 were males. So I have to find P. Suppose male is my success criteria, then P is 172 by 400. So that will give me something like 0.43. Q will be 1 minus 0.43. That will be 0.57. Then I have to find my standard error, which is square root of PQ by n. That is square root of 0.43 into square 0.57 divided by 400. So I'll get something like 0.025. Again, this is my standard error. I have to multiply this by z alpha by 2, right? 1.96. So 1.96 into 0.025. And for the P bar in the P hat in this case is for the statistics is I got 0.43. So this plus or minus of this and 0.43. 0.43 plus or minus this will be my confidence interval for proportion. Same way whatever we did for set case, same thing. Same two more examples you will just see so that this concept you will like never forget. So in this case n is 450. 230 is my 230 is my P, right? Yeah, 230 is my P bar. So 230 by 450. That will give me 0.51 as my P. So my Q will be 1 minus 0.51, that is 0.49. So standard error I will find as square root of 0.51 into 0.49 divided by 450. Again 95% confidence interval. So I'll multiply by 1.96, which is my critical value. Then plus or minus will give me my confidence interval with respect to the proportion of the statistics, that is 0.51, right? So that way same all cases as you can see we are doing the one and the same thing. Now one more last example for today. The wholesaler claims that when he makes bulbs, only 4% are defective. So that means in this case P is 4%. So P is 0.04 and Q is 0.96. And then he tells when you take a random sample of 600 bulbs, that is N, it contained 36 samples defective. So we have to find the confidence interval corresponding to given values, and we have to see whether this value of 36 lies inside my confidence interval or outside that, so that we can tell whether the wholesaler's bulb his claim is correct or not. So here also we can test against 95%. So standard error is square root of PQ by N. So that is square root of 0.04 into 0.96 by 600. You will get something like 0.008. You multiply it by again 1.96, which is my Z alpha by 2, plus or minus. Here the P bar is 0.96, right? 95%. I have to find whether it was defective. P bar. Okay, 0.96. So I will get something like my confidence interval as 15 to 33. If I solve this and you change it to x minus mu by sigma kind of thing you do, you will get 15 to 33. So the 36 is outside of this. So I can tell that it is outside my confidence interval. So we given confidence interval of 95%. It is not within my sample. Okay. So with that, I think last example 1 or 2 might be confusing. Okay, you leave it because I don't want to cover that along with 2 population case, because 2 population case is like slightly more tougher to understand. So that's why I covered proportions now itself. Okay, so shall we wind up for today? Thank you. If any doubts, you can ask. Otherwise, we can close. Okay, time is correct only, right? I told 1.5 hours. Okay, shall I close the session? If no doubts are there, I'll post a video you can go through. If you have any doubts, you can get in touch with me either through WhatsApp or you can chat me. Okay, Ramya, thank you. Okay, you can go through this video also if you get time. Or this PPT I will share. You can go through the PPT and you can try to solve these problems on your own. So that will be more better, right? Then if you get any doubt, you can get back to the video, and then if any doubts further, you can get it. So I am closing the session. Okay, thank you all.